Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobby Capucci, and this is Daily Drop number 18. I have two articles for you tonight, one from the New York Post and one from Newsweek. We'll jump right in. The first article is from the New York Post, and the headline is, Mob Rat Sammy the Bull Gravano talks about Jeffrey Epstein. Mafioso turned canary Salvatore Gravano, in a wide-ranging new videotaped interview, even weighs in on some of the conspiracy theories surrounding pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's death. I was in 9 South Gravano, aka Sammy the Bull, said in a YouTube chat referring to the wing at the MCC in Manhattan where he spent time holed up years before Epstein. It don't take long to kill yourself if he hung himself. I don't believe anybody killed him. I think he knew it was over, and he took himself out, the former Gambino crime family mobster said of the 66-year-old accused sex trafficker's death in August. Gravano, speaking on video for the first time in more than 2 decades, added that he was disgusted that the rich and famous, including former President Bill Clinton, chose to pal around with Epstein at various points. We also know he's an effing degenerate, Gravano said of Clinton before adding, "Don't take that personal, Clinton, wherever you are, that I'm calling you a degenerate. But you are what you are. I'm a man, I understand. But when you hit a certain point, you gotta keep your zipper closed. You can't be nailing a 21-year-old. She's old enough to know better, and I give you that. But still, you're in a tremendous position of power. But you're a douche. I don't even want to talk about you," he said, apparently referring to the married then-president's Oval Office affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. A rep for Clinton did not return a request for a comment Monday. Gravano is infamous for squealing on his mafia boss John Gotti in 1992, helping to finally put the Dapper Don behind bars. The Bull was the highest-ranking mob turncoat at the time. Gotti died while still behind bars in 2002. It is unclear where Gravano is currently living since being sprung from prison in 2017 after a nearly 18-year sentence for drug peddling. All right, so I came across this article earlier today when I was looking at stuff to talk about tonight on the drop, doing some research. And while it doesn't really add anything to our conversation, it's pretty funny to see even a guy like Sammy the Bull is talking about this case. So we all know that Sammy the Bull, I'm sure everybody knows the basic story of that guy. And if he's calling you a degenerate and a scumbag and stuff, geez, you must really have something bad going on for you. All right, so the next article is a little bit more serious. This is an article from Newsweek, and it talks about how Prince Andrew was involved in an orgy with Jeffrey Epstein and 9 girls on that private island, Little St. James. So the headline is, Prince Andrew involved in orgy with Jeffrey Epstein and 9 girls on billionaire's private island, accuser claims in TV expose. Prince Andrew, Queen Elizabeth II's third child, took part in an orgy with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, which involved at least 9 young women, according to revelations about to be aired on British television. All right, so this is the documentary we've been talking about that's airing, I guess today. If you're living in England, it's today, but for us in America on the West Coast, it is still the 20th. But this documentary is going to air today, and hopefully I'll be able to watch it tonight. I'm trying to work that out, and if not, I'll definitely be able to watch it in the next few days. So I'll be able to, we'll talk about that. I'll come on and I'll discuss what was on that documentary, and I'll leave a link so you guys can check it out like usual and see for yourself what's going on. All right, back to the article. The Duke of York is alleged to have taken part in the sex party while visiting Epstein's private Caribbean island of Little St. James, which Prince Andrew is known to have frequented. The claim is being made by Virginia Roberts Joffrey, who accuses Epstein of trafficking her to have sex with his rich and powerful friends, but has never spoken publicly about the allegations. During an episode of Dispatches entitled The Prince and the Pedophile, that's a great name for it, by the way. I still like Handy Andy, but I digress. Which raises questions about the prince's relationship with Epstein, Joffrey's claim will say that the orgy was the 3rd time she had sex with the royal. The Duke of York, who is 8th in line to the throne, denies ever having sex with Joffrey, but admits to meeting her at a party thrown by the billionaire financier. All right, hold on. So, he only met her once, obviously, he says. And that one time they took the picture, and then that was the end of it. He never seen her again. They never hung out again. He never had any sort of untoward relations with her. We're supposed to believe that. All right. I kind of find it hard to believe that that is the case. A photo exists of Prince Andrew with his arm around Joffrey when she was 17 in 2011. In evidence written to a Florida court 4 years ago, Joffrey wrote, "The third time I had sex with Andy was in an orgy on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I was around 18 at the time. Epstein, Andy, approximately 8 other young girls, and I had sex together. The other girls all seemed and appeared to be under the age of 18 and didn't really speak English." Man, that's typical of Epstein. As we all know, he had 3 young girls flown into him. Supposedly, Nadia Marchenko was sold to him by her parents as a child and was raised as one of his sex slaves, and then in turn became one of his groomers. So, this is just, it's hard not to believe these claims. These are legit, credible claims with evidence backing them up. Epstein laughed about the fact that they couldn't really communicate, saying that they are the easiest girls to get along with. According to the Dispatch's documentary, Joffrey was admitted to New York Presbyterian Hospital in July 2001 after suffering from vaginal bleeding, allegedly at the hands of Epstein's ring of abusers. Wow. In a separate legal declaration from 2015, Joffrey wrote, "Without going into the details of the sexual activities I was forced to endure, there were times when I was physically abused to the point that I remember fearfully thinking that I didn't know whether I was going to survive." All right, hit the brakes real quick. Now put yourself in her place. Do you have a daughter? Sister? We all have mothers, grandmothers, females that we care about in our lives. Can you imagine them being taken advantage of by a scumbag like this? By being brought into their circle and being abused, and to the point where you have bleeding from your private parts? I just, look, this is the whole point of this podcast for those of you who aren't hip to what the deal is around here. I couldn't just sit back and let this slide. As somebody who has dabbled in journalism for quite some time but has always been busy doing other things, I couldn't sit back and let this slide. And that's why I dove into this case face first the way I have, and why I'm going so hard every day dropping these dailies, because we need to have some justice in this case, and these girls need to have some justice, and their families need to have some justice, and we're just definitely not going to ever get there if the mainstream media continues to ignore this case. There is no suggestion her injuries were a result of any sexual contact from Prince Andrew. Yeah, besides the vaginal bleeding? I don't know. Prince Andrew has strongly denied any suggestions he was involved in Epstein's sex ring, but admitted it was a mistake and an error to continue visiting Epstein following his previous conviction for child sex offenses. Wait a minute. I thought he only visited him to break up with him. Now he's admitting that it was a mistake and an error? How many other mistakes and errors have you made, my man, that you haven't told us about when you've been asked? What else have you been up to? What other skeletons are in your closet, Handy Andy? I can only reiterate my regret that I was mistaken to think that what I thought I knew of him was evidently not the real person, given what we now know. Prince Andrew said in a previous statement, "I have tremendous sympathy for all those affected by his actions and behavior." Well, if that was the case, you'd be standing tall before the wagon and falling on your sword and taking responsibility for your part in all of this, for your part, and at the very least, you enabled all of it. You enabled all of it. You gave this guy legitimacy. You are a crown royal prince, a prince of the blood. And you're palling around with this dude? And you don't think people are going to make the connection that he's a legitimate guy because you guys are hanging out? So that's why you're on blast, Handy Andy. That's why you need to answer for your actions, Handy Andy. Ingrid Seward, editor-in-chief of Majesty magazine, previously told Newsweek Prince Andrew should avoid publicity ahead of the Dispatch's program being aired. "I think the best thing for him to do is do what he has done, which is just to keep his head down and get on with whatever he's doing. It would be sensible for him to keep a low profile as much as possible," she said. "He's cooperated whenever he's been asked, wrong, lies, and there's not very much else he can do at this stage." In a statement, Buckingham Palace said that Prince Andrew has been appalled by the recent allegations surrounding Epstein. Yeah, more like appalled that he got outed. More like appalled that his laundry was aired. More like appalled because we're starting to see what you're up to, my guy. His Royal Highness deplores the exploitation of any human being, and the suggestion he would condone, participate in, or encourage any such behavior is abhorrent, a spokesperson added. Epstein was found dead in a New York cell on August 10th in a suspected suicide while awaiting trial for sex trafficking and child abuse. Okay. The Prince and the Pedophile will be shown on British television's Channel 4 on Monday, October 21st. So, according to my demographics and my geolocations, I have some folks in the United Kingdom that listen to the podcast. So if that's the case, and you could direct me to a link for this documentary, or, maybe even just take some notes and shoot me some notes from, things that you thought were interesting in it, that would be awesome. Because I definitely want to check it out, and I definitely want to break it down and go over it, because as you guys, if you've been around for a while and you've been listening to the drops, we have a lot about Prince Andrew. A lot more is coming out about Prince Andrew than there are about people in America. It seems like the English press is a little more comfortable pushing the ball over the goal line here. The American press continuously protects people. They continuously run stories to confuse you and make you distrust and make you dislike other people. And it's just bad news. It's bad news, and it's bad work. It's bad journalism, and they're all pretty much guilty of it at this point. So with that said, that will conclude today's Daily Drop. We will be back tomorrow for another one, and I might have another surprise for you guys in the middle of this week. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining. Thanks for following the show, and I appreciate all the support.